Despite being on the water, Washington, D.C. doesn't really have a public ferry service. We basically just have two floating tourist attractions. Today we're going to ride those and talk about why it's more difficult to operate a ferry in D.C. than you might think. Then we're going to look at a company who says they have the solution to that. Many cities around the world lie on the ocean, a lake, or a river, and Washington, D.C. is no exception. Our river is the Potomac, and when it's not filled with tons of sewage, temporarily, the river provides the beautiful backdrop to the city's parks and monuments. DC would not exist without the Potomac. In 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, mandating that a capital for the new United States be built on this exact river, and George Washington then picked out the exact spot. What's interesting, though, is that the Potomac River today is barely used for any transportation. Other cities have elaborate ferry networks, but DC, not so much. North of the district, the rapids make the river impossible to navigate, but from Georgetown to the Chesapeake, the Potomac is navigable. With traffic in the region just atrocious, and a lack of really any metro expansion plans, it could be worth taking a serious look at expanding the aquatic transportation options here in the region. One company is looking to make an in this market. There are quite a few challenges to setting up proper ferry service in the capital, but this company says they found the solution. Before we cover any of it, let's take a look at the options that currently exist. Let's start with the cheapest watercraft journey. So cheap, it's free. Technically, this ferry doesn't cross the Potomac at all. We are riding the Wharf Jitney, a free service across the Washington Channel that runs from March through November. The Wharf is a brand new residential and commercial district in southwest DC. It opened in 2017, built around the historic Municipal Fish Market, the longest continually operating fish market in the United States. A great place for some good soft shell crabs, by the way. The Wharf is an easy walk from the National Mall, but if you do want to take transit, they operate a free shuttle bus from the L'Enfant Plaza metro station. To board the Wharf Jitney, you must find the Recreation Dock. It is located adjacent to the 7th Street Playground. You'll find signs pointing to the Wharf Jitney. Rides are offered March through November on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 12 to 6. The distance traveled on the Wharf Jitney is incredibly short, around 580 feet, or about 170 meters. Because of that, if you show up to a dock on either side, the operator will see you and come pick you up. Brought a friend with me who knows everything about all things aquatic transportation.
That's right. Oh, shit. Why, hello, I'm Andy, and I'm here with Tom at the Wharf Jitney ferry. I tried the ride at least 3 separate times before I finally succeeded. Tom just waltzed in here, and it's here already, so that's great. But we're ready to take this short ride across to Washington Channel. Are we going to speed run it?
We could.
We could. World record time.
Yeah, let's do it. It's a distance so short, I don't think they could get away with charging passengers.
No. They could.
It takes maybe 3 minutes to cross, but let me tell you, on a beautiful day like this, it may be the best 3 minutes of your whole day. The Jitney began sailing in 2017. The total project, including building the docks and buying the singular 22-foot-long electric boat, was about $500,000. Fun fact, you can bring your bike on here, and also your dog. I'm gonna bring Louie next time. He loves boats. The Jitney drops you off at East Potomac Park, which is 370 acres of greenery, perfect for walking, cycling, sports, and picnics. So it's very, very quiet, and that's because it's electric. The guy was telling us that there are 3 large batteries inside, each one weighing about the same as 4 car batteries, which is, that's quite a bit of power. Station review.
We've got benches here. That's actually all we have here. But, that's a lot that most dogs have, to be frank. And you just walk right over there and you're in beautiful East Potomac Park.
I would say that, but also a nicer station and more frequent service than some MARC stations in the region. If you don't want to take the jitney back to the wharf, I don't know, maybe you think the $0 fare is too steep, you can always walk or cycle from East Potomac Park back to the city. Anyway, while we were strolling through the park, we caught a glimpse of the next vessel that we will be reviewing for this video. It's a new day, the weather has changed, but we are back at the wharf again. It's time to ride DC's other ferry, which is also its most expensive one. Lindsey and I are going for a ride to Alexandria on the water taxi. Our tickets? $18 each, and that was last year. Today, they are $19.80. Tickets are available online or at the ticket counter right by the dock.
All right, what day is today?
It's my birthday.
And where are we going?
Alexandria.
And what type of transit are we taking?
Expensive transit.
Perfect boat day, rainy. And we're going up.
This water taxi route connects the wharf with the National Harbor in Maryland, making one intermediate stop at Old Town Alexandria in Virginia. That's where we will be getting off today. We push off right at 2:15. In exactly half an hour, we will arrive at Old Town Alexandria. Now, $20 is super steep for half an hour. You can find Amtrak tickets to New York for that price. Or ride the Silver Line to Ashburn, back to DC, and then back to Ashburn again. But here's the thing. I don't think anyone in DC really considers the water taxi to be public transportation. It's a tourist attraction, really. The water taxi is operated by City Cruises, a large company that operates cruises in many cities around the world. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Fun fact, they're the same company that organizes the excursions where you can meet the cast from the Below Deck TV franchise. In DC, City Cruises offers dinner boats, fireworks tours, narrated sightseeing tours, and the water taxi. The ship has 2 levels. Upstairs is an outdoor seating area with metal benches. On a day like today, the cooler temperatures and strong winds feel refreshing, but maybe not for the whole 30 minutes of our journey. So downstairs is the enclosed space, with plastic instead of metal seating. The seats do have power sockets and USB outlets. There's also a concession stand that serves snacks and drinks. Honestly, the prices aren't too bad for something on board, very similar to the prices on an Amtrak Cafe car, but the selection is much smaller. While the water taxi isn't really a serious transit option with its very high fares and limited schedule, there are advantages to the route. The wharf is close to the metro, but not quite on the metro. And the stop in Alexandria is right on the waterfront in Old Town, a popular destination that, again, is a bit farther away from the metro. And National Harbor is only served by buses. Ferries are, of course, never impacted by traffic, and they can run almost throughout the entire year. I enjoyed the experience. Honestly, there haven't been many boat rides that I haven't enjoyed, but this is the kind of thing I'd only do again if I had friends visiting from out of town. Rich friends. Just kidding. Seriously though, the seats on the Wharf Jitney were more comfortable. It's not until you're actually on the water that you realize I've never really seen most of these places from this vantage point. And the fun part about the water taxi is there are lots of different places on board where you can stand outside or inside and enjoy the view. And if you've got to go, well, they have the facilities for that too. Anyway, we've arrived at Alexandria's Old Town.
Just stay on the road. But if you're leaving us here in Alexandria,
Okay, $18 water taxi. What are your thoughts?
Still feel like I have my sea legs, but I thought it was great. It was a little windy and cold today, but it's still definitely worth trying, and I would say do it at least once.
Now, how crazy would it be if we had like a metro system, but it was all boats. That would be wild, wouldn't it, Tom?
It would need some sort of creative name, like not just water bus, but maybe something like, what do you think?
The Wetro?
A regional public ferry service, or a WETRO, sounds like a no-brainer, a slam dunk idea to provide another transportation option in this congested region. But it's not as simple as just having a few boats on the water. There's a reason why nobody has done it yet. There are a few problems with running ferry service on the Potomac River, and I'm going to name those problems, but then I'm going to introduce you to a company who claims to have the solution for it. And they were kind enough to let me aboard one of their demonstration vessels this past October. Now, there are two things that make a successful public ferry service. One is destinations on the water, and two is competitive travel time. So DC definitely has enough destinations on the water. Think of Roslyn, Georgetown, the Wharf, Navy Yard, Airport, National Harbor. Actually, a lot of places that the current water taxi serves. However, the water in some of these places is too shallow for traditional vessels to safely maneuver. For example, the water taxi could not serve the airport, even though that would be a big trip generator. The second major issue is speed, and that starts with getting to a ferry. Yes, the DC area has a lot of destinations along the river, but for most of these places, the epicenter isn't right on the water. What I mean by that is if you're leaving your office or a store or your home, it's usually going to be a 5 to 10 minute walk before you get to a place where you could board a ferry. Now, that's not a super long walk, but it's long enough that your ferry would need to be really fast in order to be able to compete with taking the metro or driving. And the problem is that in DC, ferries just can't be fast, because most of the Potomac River here is a no-wake zone. What that means is that a vessel can only travel as fast as it can without creating a wake. Now, for a traditional boat, that's not fast. So there's just no way where walking to a ferry and then traveling across the river is going to be a quicker option than taking the metro or driving. Those two obstacles are why the water taxi in DC is basically just a tourist attraction, and why there's no real way to run a serious public ferry service across the Potomac River. But this is where I introduce Candela, who say that they have a solution for this problem.
So I have made it to the marina by the Pentagon, and yes, there really is a marina by the Pentagon. And when I got here, two kids in life jackets ran up to me and they were like, "We're going to ride a boat that flies." And I was like, okay, I've made it to the right spot. So I just talked to Michael from Candela, and he got me a spot on the next ride in maybe like 10 minutes or so.
While we wait for our turn on the demonstration, let's talk about Candela. They are a Swedish company that specializes in hydrofoil transportation. While already active in Stockholm, Mumbai, Saudi Arabia, and Lake Tahoe, they were now coming to DC to demonstrate their technology here. I reached out to them, and the kind folks at Candela invited me to come for one of their demonstration rides. Boat Candela brought over to DC for their demonstrations was one of their C8 models, which has a smaller capacity. However, if the ferry service that they've envisioned for DC were to actually be introduced, they would use their P12 model, which has a capacity for 30 passengers. Candela's products are 100% electric. They have a range of 40 nautical miles and have flexible ramps for docking, so they are well suited for short-distance ferry services like proposed here.
I've got my life jacket on. We're going for a ride.
While we wait for the other passengers to climb aboard, let's do a quick tour of I wanted to call it the interior, but we are sitting outside. Just another reminder that this isn't the vessel that they would use if they actually introduced ferry service in Washington, D.C. They would use a bigger vessel. This is their smaller vessel, and it's very comfortable. With everybody seated and wearing their life jackets, we push off the dock and slowly make our way through the marina by the Pentagon. Once we've traveled under the bridge and are actually on the Potomac River, we are going to be part of a very small club of people that have traveled on this river faster than anyone else in history. And it's almost ironic how this floating no wake sign is essentially the starting shot for us traveling at high speed. Once we've left the marina and are on the Potomac, the vessel lifts into the air. This is a hydrofoil, and Candela refers to this part of the trip as a flight. With the water resistance reduced significantly, up to 80%, we accelerate to our top speed of 25 knots in a matter of seconds. I love a good boat ride, but this has to be one of my favorite trips I've ever taken. We're going 25 knots with the sun setting behind the monuments, making much less noise than a normal speedboat, and creating no wake. I've never been on the Potomac this fast before. Few people ever have. Stabilizers on the hydrofoil make it a very smooth ride as well. Altogether, it almost feels like the world around us is paused.
I understand how you are moving the boat, so we are moving.
The team behind Candela recognizes that the Potomac currently handles almost no passenger traffic, but that there is potential. They are working to connect with sponsors, create partnerships, and receive permission from authorities to invest in service here in DC. So we've already talked about why it's difficult to run ferry service in Washington, DC. What makes the people at Candela think that they can overcome the obstacles that other people couldn't? Well, it's because Candela's product is completely different. It all has to do with the fact that this is a hydrofoil. Not only does it make shallow areas of the river more accessible, it also makes it easier to go higher speeds. Like I said, because there's less wind and water resistance, and because they create no wake. That's great for this demonstration, but that would also work in commercial service, suddenly making high-speed ferry service a lot more feasible. Candela themselves predict that travel time from Georgetown to National Airport would be just 6 minutes. 6 minutes! There is literally no mode of transportation that can currently do that. And suddenly, it becomes very attractive. If I'm in Georgetown and I want to go to Alexandria, I would be more than happy to walk 10 minutes to the ferry and then get to Alexandria in under 10 minutes. That would be a 20-minute trip versus at least 45 if I walked and took the metro.
Of course, none of that works when the river is frozen like this, but thankfully that's not a super regular occurrence.
I will be curious to see if the kind folks at Candela can progress with their plans to bring service to Washington, D.C. The people I met were incredibly generous with their time and super enthusiastic about explaining their ideas. I would not say that a water bus system is the highest and only priority for our city's transportation network, and I recognize that if it is implemented, it would not serve everybody, simply because not every trip is made along the water. However, with the future of transit expansion in the region looking bleaker by the day, I do think that a clean, fast, and quiet transportation system like this could make a difference, and I would like to see it happen. I, for one, would use a high-speed ferry to the airport a lot more than the current aquatic offerings.
I mean, if the ride wasn't awesome enough, Michael and Christian are two of the nicest people I've ever met. I think it's that European bond thing we have going on, but it was so fast and so quiet. Like, we were having a normal conversation while we were traveling 25 knots.
If there are any updates, of course I will let you know. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome, and we'll see you next time.